Hello again. What we are going to look at in this video is how to find the x and y intercepts of a graph when it's given to us in a factored form. So we are going to start with looking at finding the y-intercepts. So for y-intercept, remember a y-intercept, to find that, you substitute 0 for x. So we are going to find f of 0. So that's 0 times 3 times 0 plus 2 times 0 minus 7 times 0 plus 5. Now in this I have f of 0 is equal to, well, that's 0 times 2 times negative 7 times 5. And notice, because I had that outside factor of x in this particular example, that gave me a factor of x, which when I multiply 0 times any numbers gives me out a product of 0. So for my y-intercept, I plugged 0 in for x, and I also got 0 out for f of 0, or for y. So that is my y-intercept. And then for x-intercepts, I substitute 0 for f of x. So then for this one, we are going to go ahead and put 0 in for our f of x. So we put 0 in for the function side. And remember, that is representing the same thing as if we would say we put 0 in for y. Because f of x is just another name for y. Okay, so that's on the left-hand side. So I have 0 is equal to x times 3x plus 2 times x minus 7 times x plus 5. Now, one of the mistakes that students sometimes make is that they just kind of like jump the gun and they don't read exactly what it is that they're asked to find, and they start to get rid of the parentheses like they needed to do to find the degree and leading coefficient. When you're asked to find the x and y intercepts and the function is in factored form, you actually want to leave it in factored form to find your x-intercepts, because that's like part of the stage down the process of solving that equation. And if you get rid of the parentheses, then you're just kind of making way more work for yourself than you need to do. So since this is already in factored form, and I remember that if a multiplication is equal to 0, that means one of the factors has to be 0. I can use the zero factor theorem and say, okay, that means either this outside factor of x has to be 0, or the factor 3x plus 2 has to be 0, or the x minus 7 is 0, or the x plus 5 is 0. Then solving these, I get x equals 0. Subtract 2, divide by 3, I get x equals a negative 2/3. Add 7, I get x equals 7. And then subtract 5, I get x equals negative 5. So those are the x values that would have my y come out 0. So those are my x-intercepts. So I have 0, 0. So 0 value of x will give me a 0 value for y. If x is negative 2/3, I get a 0 out for y. If x is 7, I get a 0 out for y. And if x is negative 5, I get a 0 out for y. So those are my x-intercepts. And that is how you find the x and y intercepts of a polynomial function when it is in factored form.